insult to injury, not only do you have the absolute worst possible scenario for your job, then you get stripped down to your underwear in a public parking lot. Like, I don't really know. I don't know what to make of that. Also, I'm not quite certain if it was a premeditated act, like he thought, hey, I could get an extra step on this guy by taking his pants off, or if he just got caught up in the moment and said, you know what, you gave me all that money, give me your pants too.
And we're back with another edition of Roses and Razzberries. S.J. Munoz, Ryan Witkowski, and Tyson Fisher here again. Guys, myself, I'm enjoying these a little bit warmer, sunny days. So I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty good. Tyson, how are you feeling these days?
Pretty good. Like I said, March is one of the best months of the year. Got spring, got baseball, March Madness.
Dude, March Madness, you said it all, yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, the temperature hits 60, and I bring the shorts out, too. So I'm that guy walking around in a hoodie and shorts.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. If it's 50 and up, that's shorts for me. So I don't know how you guys roll, but
seems us husky gentlemen prefer that route.
All right, well, just want to remind you again, if you do have an idea for a rose or raspberry here off the top, send them to roses@LandLine.Media.com. All right, let's go ahead and get started with one of those incredible rescue stories that we often talk about here on the show.
This one's went viral, so some of you may have heard about this, but we'll give a roses to Louisville, Kentucky firefighter Bryce Carden and the rest of the Louisville Fire Department for their just amazing rescue of a truck driver whose truck was hanging over the Clark Memorial Bridge in Louisville. So what happened was it was a multi-vehicle crash that caused this truck to crash through the barriers of this bridge, leaving the trucker stuck in the cab, which was just dangling over the Ohio River.
Nope,
it was just, right.
Let alone being it. I just can't imagine coming across that scene. Had to be kind of like dumbfounded, like what's going on?
Yeah, I looked at footage of it. It's frightening, just incredible. But Carden, the firefighter, with the help of his fellow firefighters, they accessed the cab with like this rope and cable system, just like some like a cliffhanger.
Right, exactly.
Going on there. And they hooked the driver up to a safety harness and they lifted her up to safety. The driver, who is a military veteran, was surprisingly, quote, cool as a cucumber, according to the Louisville fire
Wouldn't be
chief.
Me, like
I would have been as unconscious as a cucumber.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would have been freaking out and crying, absolutely. But also, so everyone's giving kudos to the fire department, and rightfully so, but no one's giving roses to the kingpin manufacturers, So this isn't the first truck that has dangled from a bridge. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, the cab stays completely attached to the trailer every single time. It's just amazing. So those kingpins, they are built to last, and they withstand tests that they were just never designed for in the first place.
It's kind of one of those things like if it does happen, you got it, but you don't want to find out if it actually works. But obviously, in this case, we're glad you don't want to be in that situation. I just think of myself, like, anytime I'm on a road trip or just traveling, like, over a long bridge over a body of water. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm speeding, but I'm definitely, like, the conversation increases, and I'm just, like, focused on everything else until I get across that bridge, because in my mind, I'm, like, I'm just thinking of all the crazy things that can happen on the road, especially on a bridge over water.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So, yeah, it had a fairly happy ending here, as much of a happy ending you could have in this situation.
That's right.
So.
See, it's an advertising point too. Corrosion free and can dangle over a large body of water. That's good. Well, you started it off with roses, but I'm getting ready to toss out some raspberries, and raspberries to this thief in Texas.
A terrifying heist caught on camera. A Brinks employee stripped down to his underwear at gunpoint at this Irving Chase Bank ATM. A masked robber ordering the armed victim to take off his gun belt and hand over a large bag full of money.
This is not something that happens in Irving. Actually, the Brinks employee himself told the officers that he was caught off guard, and he was caught so off guard because this is usually a very quiet route for him.
Irving police say the suspect followed the Brinks truck to the Chase Bank at Beltline and Rochelle from another location, striking after the worker pulled a bag full of an unknown amount of money from the ATM during his early morning runs. Police also expressing frustration that by the time anyone called 911 and officers got here, the brazen criminal was long gone.
Yes, the video will eventually probably be helpful to us, but we ask that you call 911 in those situations. That could have been the difference between officers getting there in time to apprehend the suspect.
And that audio courtesy of NBC5 in Dallas. But, I mean, insult to injury. Not only do you have the absolute worst possible scenario for your job, then you get stripped down to your underwear in a public parking lot. Like, I don't really know. I don't know what to make of that. Also, I'm not quite certain if it was a premeditated act, like he thought, hey, I could get an extra step on this guy by taking his pants off, or if he just got caught up at the moment and said, you know what, you gave me all that money, give me your pants too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not laughing at the individual who would go through this ordeal, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of one of those things like I like a movie or something where it's like, you know, some, you know, violent criminals, you know, forcing people to, you know, just take whatever you want and, you know, in a bank of some sort. But yeah, I don't know. I guess my first thought would be, you know, maybe use that phone for something else rather than video.
Right. Well, and that's what they said. They said they got more copies of video than they did actual phone calls to 911 for the crime. Again, I will reemphasize this point, SJ. This is why my grandmother always told me to wear clean underwear.
And we hope that
situations like this, you just never know.
Yeah, we hope you've taken that advice throughout life. That's what we're just going to leave it at that.
It's great advice.
Yeah, you know where, you know, speaking of the filming, it's, you know, just kind of become the thing to do. But I guess maybe I don't know, use it to call the phone like we said instead of just, you know, trying to go viral or, you know, get hits, whatever you're trying to do there. We talked about the weather before, and, you know, we're kind of coming up on spring here. So why don't we talk some baseball? Well, I mean, sort of.
Oh, yeah. There is a tie to baseball and trucking. So roses to minor league baseball team Albuquerque Isotopes for its continued support of truck drivers. So back in 2020, so during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, the Isotopes launched a campaign called We're Trucking With You. So basically, this campaign provided lunches and goodie bags to drivers to kind of show support to, you know, the men and women at the front lines during the pandemic. So at the time, you know, truckers were getting the shaft in terms of access to everyday necessities and whatnot. But if you remember, during the pandemic, lots of organizations and government officials, you know, they stood up for truckers. You know, at the time, it was just call it what it is. It was just good PR for a lot of these people. Since then, that support has kind of reverted back to pre-pandemic levels, but not with the Albuquerque Isotopes. So about 4 years later, after the peak of the pandemic, the Isotopes are still going strong with their We're Trucking With You campaign. This is in partnership with Dippin' Dots.
Is that still the ice cream of the future?
I think they probably got rid of that.
Like it is the future now.
I mean, it's been the future for 50 years now. Yeah.
The future is now might be the new tagline.
There you go.
Also, I'm not interested in the future if that's what ice cream turns to.
But yes, you got Dippin' Dots, Raising Cane's Chicken, and the New Mexico Trucking Association. So with this partnership, the Isotopes recently provided lunch for truckers. So I just think it's really cool to see these organizations with, you know, no direct connection to trucking show support for truckers, even when the, you know, quote unquote trend has well worn off. And that's the thing. Support for truckers, it should never just be a trend. It should not ever be a PR stunt. You know, those who understand how important truckers are should show their support all the time, just like the Isotopes. So, you know, I don't really watch minor league baseball that much, but I'm rooting for the Isotopes for this year.
Wasn't that the name of the baseball team in The Simpsons?
I believe that's correct. That's the first time
I think it was the Springfield Isotopes.
Well, and even just, you know, kind of along, you know, just to put a cap on this story here, like it's not, you don't have to do a lot always.
No,
you know, a small gesture goes a long way. Just to, I mean, show your appreciation and, you know, kind of the, you know, oftentimes we call it like the thankless job that's been done because, like you said, during, you know, those, you know, tough pandemic times, it was real easy for, you know, everyone to, you know, say how much, you know, you support them and you appreciate them, and that's kind of just gone to the back burner a little bit there again. But like you said, we'll be rooting for the Isotopes. But
it's always nice to get a gentle reminder about those things.
Exactly.
Right?
Something we're not rooting for, though, is what's become of this ELD certification process. Ryan, I know you spent a lot of time kind of digging into these stories and what's kind of going on there.
I would say once every 2 or 3 months, we get a notification from FMCSA, and they pull a couple more ELDs off of the approved list, add them to the revoked list. And last week, they dropped 5 ELDs off of that approved list. The kicker was 2 of the 5 devices had already been previously removed and then added back on. It's because the process to get added back on once you're removed is essentially like a pinky swear that we fixed the issue.
Right.
So what'll happen is the agency removes the device from there. Then they have 30 days to get back to FMCSA and say, hey, here's what we're doing to fix it. Now, in the verbiage that you know mandates or regulates this, it's kind of ambiguous as to what, FMCSA has to request. They just say we can request whatever we feel necessary in order to determine that the device has been fixed. Well, let me tell you what. I have been covering these for the better part of 2.5 years now, and I have seen at least 6 different devices that were removed from the list, then were reinstated, and then were revoked again. So at this point, you have to start questioning not only the way that they're added to the list, because that's a self-certification process, but now what the heck are you doing when you add them back to the list? I emailed FMCSA. I was assured that they check it out. That was hey, we swear we're doing this, but really we're just going to have to take that on face value. So, I know that they say they check. The regulations are loose at best. And again, you have to self-certify in the first place to get on the list. Now, this, along with, OOIDA stance that, there needs to be a retooling or an overhaul of that process. I mean, I don't know how else you can look at it and say that this isn't just beyond repair and you need to kind of throw it out and start something new.
I mean, calling it a process might even just be a stretch, because it kind of sounds like there's no rhyme or reason to what's going on here. It's just kind of like whenever they see fit and kind of at their whim. And I guess unfortunately, that's the case with a lot of regulations. You're kind of at the whim of those making calling the shots.
Well, and for something that if you were in violation of could cost you, money, time on the road, you're getting placed out of service. Like, if you have to maintain compliance, then you should probably have some type of checks and balances to make sure that the devices you're requiring everybody to have are compliant. It seems like a no-brainer to me.
All right, well, we do have a few more raspberries here to come around. And earlier we talked about, people kind of, pulling them phones out for video purposes, that is. And I'm assuming that some video may have been taken of this next story here, Tyson.
Yeah, I'm all out of roses here. So, raspberries to a man that stole a car hauler transporting more than $1 million worth of Chevy C8 Corvettes. So this theft occurred at the Wilcox, Arizona love stop off I-10, where the truck driver was talking to the suspect. After the conversation, the suspect grabbed the truck driver as he was climbing back into his truck and then took off with the expensive cargo. So on the surface, this sounds like a thief trying to steal expensive cargo. Kind of makes sense, $1 million worth of cars. However, so this is what happened though. The Cochise County Sheriff's Office eventually caught up with the stolen truck and was able to arrest the truck thief. While being questioned, the suspect said that he just needed a ride home from prison.
I'm sorry, what?
Right. He just got out of prison, didn't have a ride home, so his thought was, I'll just steal this, this car hauler. So anyway, this guy couldn't even make it home without committing another felony. It's as crazy as it sounds. Yeah. It is.
That's kind of an interesting rationale.
Did he enjoy prison or something?
Yeah, he couldn't wait to get back. Right?
That wasn't that bad at all.
I'm guessing the judge isn't going to go light on his next prison sentence.
I mean, I'm assuming you don't come out with a lot of funds in your pocket, but maybe an Uber or call a cousin, a friend, and anything, and then you go from not only just from that kind of stealing an expensive type of cargo, so you're kind of doubling it there. But obviously, like you said, this guy's not gonna be out for long. So we do thank you for joining us for this edition of Roses and Raspberries. For Tyson Fisher and Ryan Witkowski, I'm S.J. Munoz. Landline Now will be back after this commercial break.